Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. So in the previous videos, we had a look on how we can select elements using query selector, getElementById, and various other methods. We also did a small cardio on DOM methods and how we can access and manipulate the elements. So in this video, let us learn about how we can traverse the DOM. So the topic for this video is DOM Traversal. Okay. So traversing the DOM means that once you have selected one of the elements from the DOM, so suppose this is your DOM, and you have various elements rendered on your HTML page. Now if you select this element, so you are selecting this element by using some query selector. So traversing means that once you have selected one of the elements from the DOM, you might be interested in diving into one of its child nodes. Okay. So rather than manually selecting each element that you might be interested in using the query selector or so on, you could take the element you just select and move to its siblings or to its parent or child nodes. So this is what traversing the DOM means. Now before moving ahead, let us make some terms crystal clear in our heads that you will see me using more often while speaking. So the terms are children. Second term is descendants. The third term is parent. And the last term that I want to talk about is ancestors. So let us start with children. Now when I speak about the child and the DOM traversal methods that you will learn about, then this always means a direct child node or element. So children means direct child node or element. Okay, so let me show an example and we'll see what all these terms mean in that. So let me define a div tag. Now this is your outer div tag within which I will define two tags h1 and p that are nested within the div tag, and they are sitting adjacent to one another. So they are siblings of one another. So h1 and p are siblings of one another. So let me define the closing tag here. Here I will write some lorem ipsum in the h1 tag, and within the p tag I will write say some dummy, and within that, within the p tag I will define b tag, and let me write here text. Okay, so it says some dummy, and within the b tag, within the bold tag, it says text. So now let me discuss about what are the direct child nodes here. So here h1 and the p. So h1 tag and the p tag, they are basically the direct child nodes of the div element, where b is not the direct child element of div. As you can see, it is the direct child element of the p tag, and you can say that it's an indirect child of the div element. So if you are concerned about the level 1 of the level 1 children, so h1 and p are the direct children of your div tag. Okay, so here I can say h1 and p, they are your direct children for the div element, which is the parent element. So moving further, let us talk about descendants. Descendant is the direct or indirect child node or element. So here we talk about direct children as well and indirect child nodes as well. So direct or indirect child node or element. Okay. So if we consider the same example, the HP and also the B tag, they are descendants of the div tag. So here h1, p as well as the bold tag, they are descendants of your div tag. So h1 is a descendant of div tag, p is also a descendant of the div tag, and the b that is nested within the p tag, which itself is nested within the div tag, this b tag is also a descendant of the div tag, but it is not a direct child node of the div tag. So for direct child node, we only have h and p that is sitting one level within the div tag, and for descendant we have H, P and B all included. Okay, so here as you can see here that H, P and the B tags are descendants of the div tag. So B tag is not the direct child of div but a descendant of the div. So let us now talk about the parent. The parent node or element is the direct parent node or element of some other element. So direct parent node or element of some other element or element of some other element. Okay, so in the same example you can see that the div is a parent of h1 and p tags but not of the b tag. So what we will do here is from h1 and p you can go one level up. Okay, as you go one level up you can see the direct parent of the h1 and p tags. So div is your parent for h1 and p tags. For b, if I talk about b, the direct parent will be p because the b tag is directly nested within the p tag. So finally let us talk about ancestor. Ancestor on the other hand is direct or indirect parent node or element. So here we say direct or indirect parent node / element. Okay, so in the same example we have div as the ancestor of both h1, p and even the b tags. Okay, so here we have div as the ancestor, here. So that means it is ancestor of both the h1 and p tags as well as the b tag. For parent we refer only the direct children. So h1 and p, so div says that h1 and p are my direct children. So here for div we only have h1 and p, and the ancestor, the div is ancestor of all these tags. So h1, p and b as well. Okay, so when we talk about ancestors, so all these terminologies are now over. Now this is something that you need to understand for DOM Traversal and what you could do there. So moving on, as I said, DOM Traversal means that you already have the reference to some selected element, and now what you want to do is that you want to dive into the neighboring nodes along the same level above the current level on which the current node is defined, and the levels below this as well to access say child nodes. So we have a couple of directions in which we can traverse. Now you can also go up to find a parent element or node with methods. We can also dive deeper. We can stay at the same level. So let us discuss all this with a diagram. So let me clear up the screen. Let me define a diagram to understand this thoroughly. Okay. So this is our current node. Okay. Current node, and let us say this is sitting on some current level. So any level that is above the current level, we can say levels above current level. So the level above current level will include all those elements that are above the current node, that is some parent element or the ancestor elements, all the element that you can say that they are senior to the current node. Okay, you can say so. Now levels below the current level will come down this reference line. So levels below current level. Okay. Now if we want to traverse above, we need method called as parentElement or the parentNode method. And we will see these methods in a demo that I will show you in the next video. So for now, you just need to understand what these methods actually refer to. Okay, so let us see what is parentElement. So this will help you to go up to basically find a parentElement on node with the parentNode or the parentElement method. Okay, so these specific DOM properties which every DOM object will have, the parentNode will select any parent node, whereas the parentElement will also select a parent node which is also a parentElement. Now moving on, you can also reach out to levels below the current level. Okay, let us see how we can reach levels below the current level on which the current node is defined. For that, you can make use of the methods and properties like, so if I want to go deeper into the levels that are defined below my current node, so for that we have methods and properties like childNodes, then we have children to refer all the children. For this we basically get the elements, and for childNodes we will get all the childNodes. So there is a minute difference between node and element, and we will see that. For that you can make use of the methods and properties like shown here, the childNodes, the children, and even the query selector method. So you can directly apply the query selector method on the current node as well to basically query for any element that is nested within the scope or within the current node. Okay, so query selector. So the childNodes is basically used to select all the childNodes including all the text node. Okay, so text node is like this. Suppose this h1 is a child node. Okay, so within which you will have some text, so child node will select that as well. Okay, which is not the case with children. So the child node is used to select all the child nodes including all the text node. Okay, and even the space that is defined for nesting the h1 element within some say div element, this is also a text node. So do take a note of this as well. So let us move further. The child nodes is also used to select all the child node including all the text node, as I just told you. Now the children is used to select only the HTML children element, and you can even use the query selector which are available on every selected element. Now there are some special properties you can use to get the first child. For example, now first child will basically help you to select the first child node. So we can make use of methods called as first child. First child. Now this selects the very first child node, and then we have a method called as first element child. First element child. Okay, and this is in camel case. So first, then we have element, E in uppercase, and then C in uppercase. So first element child. Now what is the difference between these two? Now first element child basically select the first element child of the given element, which is the current node here. So we are interested in the first element child of the given element, and the same is available for the last child node as well. A last element child and last child. So last child and last element child. Okay, now these two methods are also available which help you to select for a given element. Okay, when we talk about the last child of a certain element, and you know the difference between node and element, which I just told you. So now let us talk about when we are only concerned with nodes on the current level of the current node. So the time is now for the current level. Let us talk about that. So for the current level, we have certain methods that which will help you to basically go back from the current node within the same level, or you can move forward within the same level or next to the current node. So for that, we have methods to access next and previous siblings. So any node that is sitting on the same level, like this. So these are the nodes, suppose, and they're sitting on the same level as the current node. So if you want to access the previous sibling, so these are all siblings of each other because they are defined on the same level. If you want to access the previous sibling of the current node, you can use methods such as previousSibling, and previousElementSibling, previousElementSibling. Okay, so for accessing all the previous sibling, or you can say that the previous sibling of the current node, you will have to use the method called as previousSibling for selecting a node that is just previous or just before the current node within the same level. So use the method previousSibling for getting the node and previousElementSibling for getting the element itself. Now these methods on any DOM object will help you to get the direct sibling of any element. So if you want to get the direct sibling within the same level, and I want to get the next sibling of the current node. Okay, so for that what I will do is, so as I told you, this is your current level. So for getting the next sibling of the current node, we'll make use of the method called as nextSibling. So what I will do is, let me write this a little bit clearly. So for selecting an element that is basically on the same level and next to the current node, we will use nextSibling and nextElementSibling. So nextElementSibling. And as you know that when we want to traverse up the current level or traverse up the DOM from the current level, you use parentElement and parentNode, just as I told you in the starting. So theory is now done. Let us see these methods in action in the very next video. So if you like the video, do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the very next video.